Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the second dev server for Updates Danger Zone, and it's time to have a look at a new destroyer which is coming in for the American fleet in the blue water side of things. This is the Uss Gearing. It is from 1945 and is going to find itself at 4.7. The vehicle actually goes in the third line, which they have kind of been adding a few things to, including the Mitscher, which we saw earlier with the very rapid firing 127mm, and then the gearing comes in with three dual 5-inch guns. This one will be at 4.7, so it's seen as slightly worse than these, but basically equal to the Sumner, which makes sense because of its main armament. The Gearing at rank 3 has access to a pretty formidable armament, not just in the primary role, but also in the secondary role. The primary role being, once again, the three dual 5-inch guns. You can see one set up on the back, two on the front here. And the secondary role, it has a ton of 40mm and a ton of 20mm. Two dual mounts of 40mm that you can see here and here, and then two dual mounts of quad 40mm that you can see back here. Then 20mm just spattered all over the machine, with three on the back, some in the center, such as here, and then also some on the front in these areas. So the AA defense on this thing is quite formidable, especially with those 40mm, which I generally see as the better AA guns in the game, as long as their HEVT works, if they, allow it. Then it also has access to some torpedoes, so it has two sets, one here and one here. 10 torpedoes at most, so overall not too bad indeed to be able to actually play with. The torpedoes themselves are the Mark 15s. These only have 9.15 kilometers travel distance, which kind of sucks, and also they need the torpedo mode to even get close to that. So most of the time I'm probably going to use this thing. I'm not actually going to run it with torpedoes. I'm just going to use it as main guns. It does have some depth charges, of course, just like a lot of these machines. You can see the depth charges over here in their launchers, so you can kind of throw them around the place, but overall, the depth charges aren't going to be too useful. It's much better just to bring the torpedoes. So for the main guns, since they are 5-inch guns, they have access to HE. Then they have the 5-inch common Mark 32, which is the AP shell with access to 1.15 kilos of TNT equivalent. Then you've got the SP common Mark 46. This has slightly less TNT equivalent at 906 grams, but also pens more at 150, 130, 75 compared to 124, 106, 53. And then you have, of course, the HEVT, which doesn't pen as much, but is perfect for killing planes. So you have, as usual, with an American destroyer, these 5-inch guns, which are probably the best multi-purpose guns in the game. The 40s have access to Universal, HE, and AP. Generally, I'd say just running HE is probably best on them, but AP can also be useful against other ships, but mainly you're going to run the 40s to be AA instead of, AS, I suppose is how you would see it. The Gearing also has some extra armor on it, and this can actually make a lot of destroyers super annoying to face. So it has a hull of 60mm, which may not be that much, but it has anti-frag armor on it, giving it an extra 19mm. And this can actually stop a lot of HE shells from coming in and penetrating, because it gets through one layer and then it gets stuck on the next one. So this is actually really good cover for the belt of the machine, but against AP, it's not really going to do too much. There's also 19mm around the radar itself, and also there's some anti-frag armor of 13mm above to be able to hold in or stop some blasts going in. You got a bit of armor on the turrets themselves, not a lot though, and then also at the same time 12.7mm of anti-frag armor for the 20mm, so that is quite nice. With the 5-inch guns, you have the standard ammo elevators that they come along with, plus the magazines and shell rooms that exist on top of them. You also have the bridge and the radio station right next to each other, so taking this out won't be too hard to do. It isn't also extra armored like the rest of the ship, like the hull area, so aiming for this and being able to knock it off course and then trying to aim for the ammo in the front, especially since the 2 turrets are in the front instead of just the one on the back, should be, you know, the main thing to look at. Also has some massive engines in the center of it, which give it a lot of horsepower, and this thing can canter at 64 kilometers an hour around the place. So this is not a slow machine by any means. It also has some extra pseudo armor around the back ammo, since there's a bunch of fuel which is sat around it, and over here you have a bunch of fuel as well, which is sat around the ammo here, but not as much as the back. So the back is much better protected than the front. So if you're trying to kill this thing, shooting here is the way to go. But with combination of the 5-inch guns, which have the first stage fire rate of 22 rounds per minute, a secondary fire rate of 15 rounds a minute once the first stage is out with, and also the fire director, which gives you 100% accuracy after 10 seconds, this thing could be a real formidable machine to go up against. And the 40mm make it an excellent second spawn, because at least around this BR, at 4.7 and 5.0, you already have a ton of really good destroyers for the Americans, but what you don't have is a 4.7 rank 3 destroyer. So now what you can do is you can actually do your dailies and your specials with rank 3s instead of rank 3s at 4.7 instead of 5.0s, which these guys are. So you can bring along the Gearing, the Sumner, and also the Fletcher to be able to do, you know, good damage and also get stuff like that done. So I'm happy to see this thing. You know, America already has a fantastic destroyer lineup in general. It's something that is really, really fun to play through, and I'm not surprised at all that they're going to get more and more and more more destroyers, which are going to be really good to use. America has an incredibly strong navy and has done for many years now, and to see it just, you know, kind of annihilate other nations is not too much of a surprise. You can see here as well, just with the secondaries, they are very good at taking out planes. They're going to be good for taking out, you know, smaller tier stuff once all of the guns are allowed to shoot, and also the 5-inch guns will be able to put out a decent amount of punch against destroyers and the like. If you get up tiered into cruisers, then you're obviously going to have a bit more of an issue, because the cruisers are going to have a lot of damage behind them, and they're also going to have some armor, so your AP shells might not do as much. But you can see with the fire rates of the 5-inch guns, you'll never have to have a moment where you are not firing a gun onto the enemy. And that is one of the nice things about the 5-inch guns. As long as you have 3 turrets or 4 turrets, you can create a complete barrage of the enemy and just take them out super easily and never give them any respite as you're throwing in round upon round upon round upon round, which for a lot of people can be very effective, because you can just annihilate pretty much anything on the general side of the battlefield, and it can just be super useful in general. For me, this machine looks pretty nice. It has all the bog standard stuff that you want from an American ship. You know, it has the gun, the primary guns, it has the secondaries, it has the torpedoes, it has pretty much everything. So overall, I think people will enjoy this one, and it will be a nice one to grind through to get to those cruisers. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.